Hello, and welcome to my sort of Not With Me series. This month, for 2022, I decided to bring you 3 different Halloween / spooky themed Not With Me's. But what is really special about these videos is they are all alphas, which is something I've never posted on this channel before and something I never really thought I would be posting. Alphas have always been so complicated for me, and I am a major perfectionist, so even though I love how these 3 alphas came out, there's still a lot of things on each one I feel like I could have done better or could have made better. They may look really nice to someone who doesn't even know how to make alphas, but I'm just such a perfectionist. So my last tutorial was uploaded just over a month ago now, September 15th, and I decided instead of trying to find more tutorials to film, I would spend this month working on alphas and bringing 3 new videos to you. And I guess you wouldn't really consider this a Not With Me, since I am doing a voiceover over sped up clips. I guess you could call it a speed knot, which sounds really cool too. So for this first video here, we have a Ghostface keychain, which kind of sparked my motivation to make a bunch of keychains, and specifically alphas, for this month. And with Halloween coming up in just a couple weeks as well, I figured this was just a good time to make some more spooky themed things. But this keychain was kind of random, honestly. I had just been browsing through Bracelet Book trying to find alphas to work on because I really wanted to work on them again. I wanted to just work on my alpha skill, and I would say it's pretty good as it is. There's really nothing to complain about, but there's just so many things I have to nitpick on it, I guess. But yeah, I started the Ghostface. It was really the perfect size for a keychain. It's a little bit on the longer side, which you'll see at the end, I guess, as far as keychains go, but I still think it turned out really nice. So this keychain, all in all, took just under 4 hours and 40 minutes to make, which is honestly so impressive for me, especially when it comes to alphas. But it is a pretty fast knot, and I was so motivated to work on this that I was working on it in really long sittings. Alphas are definitely really a lot easier to work on if you work with less amount of colors and also lesser amounts of color changes within a row. This one did have a few moments of tricky, but with so much black in the pattern, it kind of helps teach you how to look at your tension, which is so wildly different from normal patterns, and also making sure your rows are even and all of that, which the evenness of a row is something that I really struggle with, and you'll definitely want to stay tuned for the second knot with me, because that problem that I have is so much more apparent there, and I will talk about it way more there. Even though this keychain kind of had that problem, it isn't really that noticeable, but in next week's video it's much more noticeable, so I'll talk about that more then. And also the edges. I do the straight edges technique, and sometimes that doesn't work out the best depending on the color changes on the outside and just dependent on so many things. But I think this keychain for 90% of the edges is pretty good, so I really don't want to complain about that at all. So I wanted to talk about Ghostface and I guess the Scream movies in general for a little bit while we're here. I was totally afraid of this mask as a kid, which I'm sure is completely understandable. Of course, when I was a kid, I was a lot more afraid of things, and so I was not a big horror movie watcher. Once I started getting older, I started enjoying horror movies more, but I guess I don't know why. I just never had watched any of the Scream movies. In fact, I didn't even watch the first Scream movie until like earlier this year or the end of last year, and at the time of this video, I am 4 months away from 26, which all of you probably didn't know. So there's a fun fact about me there. But I just kind of avoided it, I guess, because it is not really the most accessible movie to watch online. I mean, there are ways to watch movies, if you know what I mean, but I just never really sought out the movies. But I had a friend who showed it to me, just cause, why not, you know? And I really went into that movie thinking it was supposed to be super scary, and I don't know if it's really advertised as that. Like, don't come at me. But it honestly, more than anything, was a really enjoyable movie to watch. And of course, when I was younger, I loved Scary Movie 3. Like in high school, it was one of my favorite movies, so I was aware that Scream was a thing, but didn't actually watch the original movie until so recently. And it ended up being a movie that I really enjoyed watching and would watch many more times if I was ever given the opportunity. I haven't seen any of the other Scream movies after the first one, so maybe I should try and do that this spooky season. I don't know if they're actually that good, or if it's just redundant after a certain point, really. Oh my god, this was so frustrating in the moment. I picked the worst time in my nodding to check my phone when I got a text. Normally, I'm pretty good at finding a good stopping point so that I don't have this issue, but I guess at this time I just wasn't thinking. I was just finishing up a knot that was followed by a color change, and when I picked up my phone and answered the text, I completely forgot to bring the gray string down when I was changing it back to black. And the worst part is that I didn't notice this for the whole row. I don't know what happened. I guess I was just not as focused by this point, but I completely forgot, and thankfully it was a really easy fix. Like, I noticed it at the end of the row, so I didn't lose out on a lot of progress, thank God. But it's still one of those, like, are you kidding moments, because undoing rows and alphas is the most painful thing ever. Like, it's so much worse than undoing knots in normal patterns, because I feel like with normals, you can notice those issues pretty quickly, so you don't have that many knots to undo. But I don't know, something about alphas, like, I could just work on them for so long before I realized I made a huge mistake, and there are times where I had to spend probably 30 minutes removing knots, and it absolutely sucks. But that's kind of the nice thing about this craft, is that things are really easy to undo. You just need to put in the time to undo them. People always get so mad in my tutorials if they mess up, because they're like, now I have to redo the whole bracelet, and it's like, no you don't. Don't waste your strings, just undo your knots and fix whatever you need to, just like crochet, frogging projects. It is so painful, but don't waste your materials. Although there are times where I will have to just scrap a whole project. If it's really that bad, it's also okay to just completely scrap the whole thing and start over, because sometimes you'll get back to the point that you messed up on in a lesser amount of time than it takes to undo the knots. So it is really just how you want to manage your time. And this is how the keychain turned out. I absolutely love this keychain. It is still a little bit bumpy, which is something I also have problems with in knotting alphas. And if you'll notice on the back, I try to cut as much of the bigger spaces as possible so that the tension on the alpha itself kind of relaxes a little bit. But sometimes that doesn't always work, and that's fine. Like, the bumps really aren't that noticeable unless you're looking at it from very specific angles, and at the end of the day, it's a keychain. People are going to be looking at it from far away, or if they want to look at it up close, they're probably not even going to notice it. So it's just little things like that that I have to keep in mind so that I don't get too critical of myself. And the back is also super amazing. I love looking at the back of alphas. They're just so cool to look at. But all in all, this is an absolutely awesome keychain. I'm so happy to finally share this video with you guys. I had filmed this weeks ago. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I really hope you enjoyed listening and watching. I really hope you guys will like this series. I have 2 more videos on the way. And if you're not watching this in October of 2022, I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you consider clicking on the other 2 videos, which will be on the screen for you to click on. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.